Good evening, and please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Board of Trustees for the School Tennis Speedway for November 12th. We are working from a 15-item agenda. And the first item is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on October 8th.
I move that we approve those minutes.
Thank you, Lynn.
I'll second.
Thank you, Debbie. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 5-0. Item number 2 is to set the date and time for the annual retreat.
'Tis the season. The annual retreat is coming December 10th. My recommendation is to advertise this with you guys tonight in the boardroom from 3 p.m. till 7:30 till the board meeting starts. Like every year, we will have a book study. We'll talk about where we're growing, and we'll talk about strategic planning and how do we go from good to great. So my recommendation is to have and advertise our school board retreat on December 10th, starting at 3 p.m.
Laura?
I move that we set the date and time for December 10th, starting at 3, for the annual retreat.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Item number 3, discuss the newbie edition timeline.
Tonight we have Eric Long, which is a Speedway alum of 1998. He's here as a partner with Ice Miller, and he is going to discuss the timeline for the newbie project. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Trevor. And it is truly my pleasure and honor to be here this evening before the board. I have copies of a timeline. I don't know if you guys have copies already. I just brought extras just in case. What I'd like to do is just kind of walk through it at a high level, not get too far into the details unless that's the direction you want to go, and just talk about getting from the starting line to the finish line from a legal perspective on getting a project done at Newbie for renovation and construction. In the top corner of the timetable, it's a brief summary just kind of the team that's been put together for this proposed project. So obviously it includes you guys, Ice Miller as bond counsel, financial advisor by the name of Stiefel Nicholas and Company, and the architect proposed for this is Lancer plus BB. So a lot of times the question is asked, what does bond counsel do? Where do you come in? Kind of in a nutshell, it's a combination of state law, federal tax law, and securities law. Because at the end of the day, by the time you get to a closing on a bond issue, you are issuing a municipal security that is tax exempt for the bondholders. So there's those securities and tax components. And then also throughout the entire process you see here, there are a bunch of legal boxes we have to check from a state law perspective on getting from start to finish on, truly a property tax-backed bond. So there's a notice component for your tax base. There are resolutions that have to be considered, and in this case, at least a hearing for two different reasons. The dates that are in here are certainly flexible. This is just illustrative. So if you look just kind of, again, high level, if you were to take preliminary action in December and then take more specific action in January, we'd be set to close on a bond issue really by the end of February. So you're really looking just at 2 months worth of board action, kind of taking preliminary action first, then putting some public notices out to let folks know that step 2 is there would be a hearing component and then some more in-depth resolutions, if you will. And then state law requires that for this type of general obligation bond issue, it has to go out to bid and get competitively sold. So we've got that time frame built in there as well. Just in kind of looking at this from a holistic perspective too, I'm certainly not the construction professional, but just what we've been seeing this year is just generally rising construction costs, just so you guys kind of get that sense. We work with construction and architect professionals throughout the state, and through a combination of, frankly, cities, towns, taxing units being busy with projects, it's kind of a supply and demand thing, and then the other piece is kind of the uncertainty with things like steel tariffs, et cetera, that are driving suppliers up on their pricing. So one thing that we would do from a legal perspective is set what we call like maximum parameters or do not to exceed parameters that can always be come down from. So for example, in December, we would have a preliminary bond resolution that just sets out very broad parameters. So interest rates not to exceed, 5 or 6% when the time comes to sell a bond, because between December and February, who knows what kind of fluctuations would occur in the sale marketplace. Things like setting a maximum par amount of the bond issue, conservatively estimating $2 to $2.5 million. But I want to point out that according to what the folks at Lancer plus BB have told us, you would have construction bids in hand around mid-January, and we wouldn't have a bond sale until well after that. So we would know by that time what the proper amount is that we want to actually structure for the actual sale. So I just want to point that out too, is that along the process, we set these maximum parameters just so you don't have to come back and rework things after you get construction bids, especially the way things have gone this year. So that's kind of looking at it again, just from a 30,000-foot perspective, a couple months worth of board meetings and resolutions, a handful of notices that have to go out to the newspapers. And these are all things that we would obviously draft and present to you guys to review beforehand. That's just kind of part and parcel with the service we provide, is getting those technical terms and resolutions taken care of, and taking care of things like the bond documents and assisting with the offering document, et cetera. I'm glad to entertain any questions or comments you have about any of this.
The great news with Eric is that Ice Miller works very closely with Stiefel, with Lancer plus BB. So the team that you have on the top right, if you go anywhere in the state, they pretty much, that's a group that you guys work really well together. So far we've had one meeting just to get our ducks in order, and it was a very smooth meeting, and I thank you for that too. That I expected an hour or so meeting. We got through it in about 30 minutes because you guys are so organized. This is what you do for a living, and I do appreciate your time so far. So thanks, Eric, for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the timeline?
Well, again, I thank you for having me here this evening, and I'm always available. I actually have some cards I can pass out to you, so if anyone has individual questions, certainly feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. I'm glad to walk through it.
And when alum come back, we always have them sing the school song before they leave.
For the camera?
Yeah, right.
I do like pointing out to everyone who asks, or who talks about it, that it mimics the IU fight song. And they're playing tonight, by the way, so.
Okay.
So you
Go
don't
to your
wanna
family
stay-
and go watch IU.
So you don't want to stay with us the rest of the night?
If you just want to leave the cards there, and I'll pass it.
Okay,
So
sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you
let
all.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks to your family. Thank you.
Item number 4, approved schedule of 2020 school board meetings.
Again, every year, we approve the schedule of next year's school board's meetings, so I recommend to approve the 2020 schedule of the school board meetings as presented. This schedule mirrors current and past practice.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 schedule of meetings.
I'll second.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 5, approve the 2020 salaries and benefits for non-teaching groups of employees.
Okay. The recommendation is to approve the enclosed schedule, which was given last month, of the 2020 salaries, wages, and benefits for the non-teaching employees, and no changes have been made from last month as it was enclosed into your original document.
Laura?
I move that we approve the 2020 salaries and benefits for the non-teaching groups of employees as has been presented to us.
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Bill. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 6 is to renew the health insurance plan.
Health insurance. Here we go. They sent us a number, United Healthcare, that's who we're currently with, and it was very high at 33%. We said no. We took it back to John Boss, who our agent is, and they went back to the table and brought it back at 12.9%. We said no again, too high, and John Boss went back to the table. Luckily for us, they came back at a lower number at 5.9. Now, we have to take in consideration, last year in 2018, our rate decreased negative 4.75. So last year we had a decrease, and this year at a positive of 5.9, understanding the value of staying with the same doctor, same prescription plan, same vision, same dental. There's some value in staying with the same group. So if you take a look at the 2-year span, the total increase for teachers or administrators or whoever's on our insurance will go up about 1.15 over 2 years. After discussing with our association, John Boss, administration, we feel like it's very valued. It's a number that we can value, and it's something that we can stay with because our deductibles are staying the same. $300 for individual, $600 for family, and then the old $15 for the max out of pocket. That's a pretty good deal around the state. So we feel very comfortable that for this year to stay, and I recommend that we stay and renew with United Healthcare.
I'll move that we renew our health insurance plan with United Healthcare.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. I will abstain from this vote. But go ahead and call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Item number 7, approve resolution of professional compensation merit pay.
Teachers have 2 compensation pays, one in our contract, the other is a teacher appreciation grant. We're going to talk about the one that's in the contract. The contract states that if you maintain or have an A school or increase by a letter A grade, that you get a $500 stipend. That's in our contract. Well, it gets a little sticky when the state keeps holding you harmless from the year before and they use the score before. So we had 2 schools 2 years ago that missed it by just a few points. And we've been discussing this with the association. We've discussed it with this board that we feel with just 2 schools out, we should make a resolution to just go ahead and pay all until we can clean up the state testing, if that happens. But we're very firm to say that we believe in our teachers, and with the new scores that have came out, that have come upon us, one of the schools did move to an A, so they would meet this criteria. So we have 1 school left that we would like to hold harmless on the 17-18 school corporation grade of an A and pay all of our teachers in Speedway because they're well worth it, and each day they battle these kids that they get this $500 stipend that we have already appropriated for to pay them out. So my recommendation is to approve the resolution to pay all teachers in the corporation the $500 stipend.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the professional compensation or merit pay as presented.
Thank you, Deb.
And I'll second it.
Thank you, Bill. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Nice, thank you for doing this. I think this is a very, very nice thing for our teachers. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0.
You need it. No, that's not for them. Actually, maybe that is you. My apologies. So you're going to sign there, and I'll sign here. Yeah.
Next item is to approve the 2018-2019 evaluation of the superintendent.
I recommend that you approve the superintendent's evaluation for the 18-19 school year. I guess that would be me.
Well, it's
It's
actually
not
up
me.
10.
No, it's not
No,
your
it's not
recommendation.
your-
You would make the
But I can,
recommendation.
do I
yeah.
recommend it?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we're doing that because it's part of our board
Correct.
certification
Governance
and whatever,
award.
yes,
It's a summary of the evaluation we all submitted.
So you guys will all need to sign
Yes.
this, right?
yes.
Well, you have to
Assuming
approve
we
it, or?
approve it.
Okay. Sign it.
I'll make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the evaluation of the 18-19 school year.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Laura. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Item number 9 is to reaffirm the statement of board ethics.
This falls in line with the evaluation superintendent, the governance award, but I think it's always good to verbally state what we are about in the code of ethics. So I'm just going to read 4 of the top headings here from the school board member code of ethics. The first one is school board members should honor the high responsibility that membership demands, such as following by thinking always in terms of children first. A school board member should demonstrate respectful relationships with the other members of the board. A school board member should maintain desirable relations with the superintendent of schools and other employees, and a school board member should maintain a commitment to the community. So my recommendation is to publicly reaffirm by signature on the sheet of paper of the board statement of ethics.
Laura?
I move that we reaffirm the statement of board ethics.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Debbie. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Just below your name. Just below your name, please.
Item number 10 is to approve participation in the Central Indiana Education Service Center Indiana Online Academy.
We're part of the CIESC, the founding members of that. Actually, back in the day, Indiana Online Academy is a service that we use, or an online academy, for many years. Last year, we had 5 or 6 kids in the summer school program that were able to go and give a little more direct instruction through the Indiana Online. We also have Play-Doh. Through my experience being the principal of the high school, whatnot, this is a great catch program to get kids caught up on credit if need to be. So this really allows our counselors to go ahead and start early, which is always a good thing on scheduling for the summer. So my recommendation is to approve this agreement with the CIESC Indiana Online Academy.
This is for what year?
This is for next year, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I found out some of the schools up north have already sent this out for registration, so we're actually behind already for 2020, so.
I'll move that we approve participation in the Central Indiana Education Service Center, Indiana Online Academy.
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 11 is to approve the contract with Johnson Control.
Johnson Control uses Cantech Access Control, which is one of the programs that we use. In the old school, it used to be a key and a lock. Now they're key fobs, pads, and boards throughout our school. We hosted a server here, and during fall break, that server does not work any longer. So we were able to save the program, so what we were at October 14th, we're still able to use, and everything's working appropriately. But we need to add new people for winter coaches and some new employees. So we have to we need to make a decision. It was either to spend $12,000 to $16,000 for a new server that would be susceptible of malware again, or to put it in the cloud like the rest of the world does. And we should have done that probably 6, 8, 10 years ago. Not to our fault, it was still working. So this new contract states that we'll spend the money to put it in the cloud where it'll be safe and secure. And we don't have to worry about anybody breaking into our system or spilling coffee on the server and destroying it to where we don't have a backup. So this looks like it'll be it'll be roughly $3,123 a year. That's an annual fee that we'll just have to move some appropriations around to cover that for the annual fee. Either way, we get bills for them to maintain our stuff for a little over $1,000. So it makes a lot of sense, instead of going out and buying something, being susceptible for that, we can keep it safe and secure in the cloud. So my recommendation is to accept this agreement with Johnson Control.
I'll make a motion to accept the contract with Johnson Control.
Thank you, David. Laura?
One second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 12 is to acknowledgements of grants received.
This is a good month. I recommend to accept by consensus $199,562.83 in grants and donations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 13 is the personnel report.
2 items on the personnel report this month. We have a resignation of Jeffrey Solomon, who is our high school drama director. And we have a recommendation for employment of Christina Menendez, who currently teaches 3rd grade for us at Wheeler Elementary School, but she is wanting to be the high school assistant swim coach. So my recommendation would be that you accept the personnel report as presented.
Laura?
I move that we accept the personnel report as presented.
Tom?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 14 is recognition of visitors and other business. There's no other business, no visitors. Item number 15 is to approve claims, so we will return to approve claims. Thank you.